Hey everyone, and welcome to this high-intensity explainer. If you're aiming to push your celpip scores into that elite CLB 9+ tier, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're taking on a really rigorous bilingual vocabulary sprint. We are going to completely elevate your lexical resource score by mastering 55 advanced terms pulled straight from our targeted source material. For every single term, I'm going to pronounce the English twice, give you the precise Chinese translation, and then map it directly to real Canadian contexts and your celpip exam strategies. All right, let's dive right in.
Here's our roadmap for the sprint. We're covering exactly 55 advanced terms sequentially across 3 major themes: advanced adjectives, law, crime, and public safety, and finally, media, entertainment, and arts. Let's get to it.
Sprint 1. Advanced descriptive adjectives.
Okay, to hit CLB 9 or higher, you absolutely have to swap out basic words for advanced descriptive terms. This is how you maximize your points in Speaking Task 7 and Writing Task 2. Let's hit our first 3. Indispensable. Indispensable. 不可或缺的. You'd use this when arguing that a specific municipal budget item is completely vital. Next up, detrimental. Detrimental. 有害的, 不利的. This is your go-to word for describing negative environmental impacts in Writing Task 2. Finally, feasible. Feasible. 可行的. Whenever you're evaluating a proposed solution for a Canadian municipality in the exam, call it a feasible approach. It sounds so much better than just saying a good idea.
Keeping the pace up, we have paramount. Paramount. 至高无上的，最重要的。Inevitable. Inevitable. 不可避免的。Prevalent. Prevalent. 普遍的。Notice how perfectly these words fit into Canadian public policy discussions? If you're handling a Speaking Task 7 prompt about carbon tax debates, use prevalent and paramount to neutrally and objectively frame the differing opinions. It's a total game changer.
Let's apply these next ones to daily Canadian administration. Perplexing. Perplexing. 令人费解的. Lucrative. Lucrative. 获利丰厚的. Tedious. Tedious. 乏味的，冗长的. The crucial point here is context, right? Think about reading passages in Reading Part 4 involving viewpoints on navigating complex CRA tax forms. That's perplexing. Or, if you're describing everyday Canadian workplace dynamics, you might describe a specific administrative task as tedious, or maybe a new business venture as lucrative.
Continuing our descriptive focus, we've got substantial. Substantial. 大量的，实质性的. Obsolete. Obsolete. 过时的，被淘汰的. Stringent. Stringent. 严格的，严厉的. When you're discussing obsolete technology or substantial evidence in a workplace debate for listening Part 5 conversations, calling the resulting safety regulation stringent immediately shows off that advanced lexical range.
To wrap up our adjective sprint, let's look at these 3. Versatile. Versatile.
多功能的，多才多艺的。
Susceptible to. Susceptible to.
易言相的。
Comprehensive. Comprehensive.
全面的或综合的。
Now, this set brilliantly illustrates a high-scoring strategy. Susceptible to is a fixed prepositional phrase. Drop in this alongside a comprehensive plan or a versatile solution into a Writing Task 2 survey response. That literally guarantees you points for accurate, advanced grammar and vocabulary integration.
Take a quick breath. Okay, Sprint 2. Law, crime, and public safety.
This high-density vocabulary is an absolute goldmine for CELP opinion prompts where you have to weigh in on community issues. Let's lock these in. Juvenile delinquency. Juvenile delinquency. 少年少年犯. Law enforcement. Law enforcement. 执法部门. Rehabilitation programs. Rehabilitation programs. 康复或改造计划. Deterrent effect. Deterrent effect. 威慑作用. Do you see how these all connect? If you're tackling Speaking Task 6, you can build a powerfully cohesive argument about community safety by linking law enforcement efforts to rehabilitation programs to create a really strong deterrent effect.
Moving from community safety to broader legal concepts. Invasion of privacy. Invasion of privacy. 侵犯隐私. White-collar crime. White-collar crime. 白领犯罪，经济犯罪. Capital punishment. Capital punishment. 死刑. Now, remember, when dealing with politically charged terms like capital punishment on the exam, you absolutely must maintain a strictly impartial, objective tone. Use it purely as a lexical tool to describe a legal concept, not to champion any personal political stance.
Let's look at some more local issues. Neighborhood watch. Neighborhood watch. 邻里守望相助. Strict regulations. Strict regulations. 严格的规章制度. Crime rate fluctuation. Crime rate fluctuation. 犯罪率波动. Neighborhood watch is incredibly relevant to daily Canadian suburban life. You're frequently going to encounter scenarios involving local community meetings in celpip listening part 6, making this term essential alongside discussing any crime rate fluctuation.
When describing a chaotic street scene in Toronto or Vancouver for speaking task 3, you need precise vocabulary. Zero tolerance policy. Zero tolerance policy. 零容忍政策. Legal proceedings. Legal proceedings. 法律程序. Vandalism. Vandalism. 故意破坏公物. Traffic violation. Traffic violation. 交通违章. I really want to explicitly link traffic violation to those picture descriptions. It is literally the perfect phrase for capturing those everyday city scenarios.
Let's look at consequences now. Public surveillance. Public surveillance. 公共监控. Impose a fine. Impose a fine. 处以罚款. Community service. Community service. 社区服务. Look closely at impose a fine. This is a critical verb-noun collocation. In writing task 2, don't just say make them pay money, say impose a fine to immediately signal advanced proficiency to the raters.
Finishing up our law sprint with these 3 heavy hitters. Penal system. Penal system. 家是诉家诉tom. Fraudulent activities. Fraudulent activities. 欺诈化tom. Forensic investigation. Forensic investigation. 추检调查. A quick test strategy warning here. For your writing tasks, be extremely careful with the spelling of fraudulent. It's a super common spelling trap that can easily cost you unnecessary points.
Moving right along, Sprint 3, Media, Entertainment, and Arts.
Media and arts are incredibly common themes in celpip reading part 4 and speaking task 4. Let's tackle these 4. Mass media influence. Mass media influence. 大众媒体影响力. Sensationalism. Sensationalism. 标题党. Censorship. Censorship. 审查制度. Mainstream culture. Mainstream culture. 主流文化. Again, just like earlier, with a term like censorship, remain completely neutral. If you get a prompt about media regulation, just use the term objectively to explain both sides of the argument.
Next, we have a really powerful comparison. Freedom of the press. Freedom of the press. 新闻自由. Biased reporting. Biased reporting. 有偏见的报道. These are fantastic contrasting concepts. If you're demonstrating complex argumentation in speaking task 7, contrasting the ideal of freedom of the press with the reality of biased reporting shows a highly sophisticated grasp of vocabulary.
Let's shift gears to everyday modern Canadian life. Binge watching. Binge watching. 刷剧. Artistic expression. Artistic expression. 艺术表达. Cultural heritage. Cultural heritage. 文化遗产. These phrases beautifully capture modern Canadian culture. Use cultural heritage to discuss Canadian multiculturalism, and pull out binge watching when answering those everyday casual conversation tasks about your weekend plans or hobbies.
Let's look at the business side of media. Target audience. Target audience. 目标受众. Subliminal advertising. Subliminal advertising. 潜意识广告. Intellectual property. Intellectual property. 知识产权. These right here are your secret weapons for writing task 2. If the survey asks about supporting local businesses or marketing strategies, deploying these terms will absolutely elevate your response. As we approach the finish line, consider these tech and art terms. Interactive media. Interactive media. 互动媒体. Virtual exhibition. Virtual exhibition. 虚拟展览. Critically acclaimed. Critically acclaimed. 备受好评的. Streaming platform. Streaming platform. 流媒体平台. I really want to point out critically acclaimed here. This is an elite compound modifier. Recognizing and understanding this term is totally vital for comprehending reviews or cultural articles in reading part 3.
And here we are, the final 4 terms of our 55-word sprint. Public broadcaster. Public broadcaster. 公共播报机构如 CBC. Misinformation. Disinformation. Misinformation. Disinformation. 虚假信息. Sponsorship. Sponsorship. 赞助. Amusement facilities. Amusement facilities. 游乐设施. Note that public broadcaster is intimately tied to the Canadian context, specifically referring to networks like the CBC. That's essential background knowledge for understanding Canadian media prompts.
Huge congratulations on completing this intensive CLB 9+ sprint. You now literally have 55 elite terms in your arsenal. I want to leave you with this final provocative synthesis challenge before we go. How would you weave terms from entirely different sprints together to construct a flawless, high-scoring argument? Like, how would you use indispensable and stringent to argue for better public surveillance in Speaking Task 7? Think about it, practice it, and you'll be more than ready for test day. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and keep focused on that target score.